school, it was just too much for us to handle. And I like a challenge, but it was just too much for me this year. So I had the option to actually stay home because of the investments that we have made. So so here I am, and I pretty much handle the Airbnb portion of our investments, as well as the student rental portion, and we'll talk about that. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask as we go along.
All right. Yeah. So what we're going to do, I think, is we're going to kind of explain to you I'm going to explain to you in the PowerPoint all the different loan programs available. I'm going to talk to you about different types of real estate investment strategies that people use. We're going to talk about what we did. We're going to give you our story. I'm going to mute everybody just so that we all, for now, so we're not picking up any background noise. But we'll answer questions for people at the end. I've scheduled about an hour and a half. I feel like the PowerPoint itself should take an hour or maybe less. And then we'll have time to answer any questions that people have, maybe questions you came to the table with tonight, or questions after you hear the presentation. So what I'd like to do right now, I think, is I'm going to screen share, and then I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint, and we'll take it from there. If you have any questions, I guess hold them unless it's something that you really need. Maybe I guess you can put your hand up. Those of you teachers on this thing, you know all about Zoom. You taught on Zoom for probably a year at least, and so you understand it better than I do. But we'll do our best to try to notice those things. Also, I'm recording this tonight because there are some people who couldn't make it that are interested in hearing it, seeing it, learning from it, just so that you're aware. All right, so now I'm going to screen share and we'll go to the PowerPoint. All right, let me just do this. I muted everybody, but now that I've muted everybody, I want to make sure that you guys can all see it. Jose, can you see the screen? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see our PowerPoint. Not yet? Can you see it?
Now we can.
Excellent. Muy bien. All right, here we go. So obviously the topic of tonight's presentation is going to be creating passive income through real estate investment. So the agenda, we're going to cover the following topics, and we're going to, delve deeply into some things, and we'll probably cover the surface of some other things, and that's where the Q&A at the end is going to come into play. So some of the things that we're going to talk about are going to be, why would you want to invest in real estate, right? What are your goals? What is it that you're hoping to accomplish? Everybody's got different reasons why they do it. So what you have to do is you really have to kind of think about what is your purpose. We're going to talk to you about different investment models. There's 3 models in particular that we're going to hit on that we're familiar with, that we've actually utilized, and we'll talk to you about those. The next topic and question, and these are kind of going to intertwine, I'm sure, as we go, is can I afford an investment property? All right. What type of assets do I need in order to try and begin this process? How can I start this undertaking? What loan programs are out there that are available to me that are going to help me to become an investor? We're going to talk about 2 different types. We're going to talk about the newbie. We're going to talk about the person who's maybe a younger person who's just starting out in their path towards purchasing real estate and what options they may have as they look to buy and possibly move into a property. So they're going to treat it like a primary residence where it's also an investment property. We're also going to be talking about people who already have their own home and they're just thinking about straight investment properties. They have no intentions of moving into them. How do they go about accomplishing that? We'll also talk about different types of properties that you can invest in. The 2 biggest things that people often think about are multifamilies, because multifamilies, that's your 2, your 3, your 4 unit property. And then the other one is the short-term rental. We're talking about Airbnb type models. So we're familiar. I can't say that we're familiar personally with the multifamily because we haven't done that, but we are familiar with doing the normal month-to-month, year-long rental. We did that on a single family, and we're also familiar with the short-term Airbnb model that we actually utilize today. And then we're going to talk a little bit about property management. At that point, Gina will probably take the helm and talk more about her experiences as she kind of takes the lead on all the Airbnb stuff that we do with the properties that we have. There's a little shot of who we are. Educators for over 40 years. I did about 21 years, I think, before I stopped in 2016. Alyssa, who's on here, and we just got to see my friend Dino. Dino and I used to work together at Shea High School. I finished as the principal of Shea High School in 2016, and at that point I started in 1995, which is ridiculous to think about how old. There's probably people on this tonight that weren't even born in 1995, but anyhow, it is what it is. And then Gina's also 21 years as a elementary school educator, pretty much all in Providence, I think, right?
Yep.
I'm now the sales manager at North Point Bank. So I've been in the mortgage business now for almost 5 years, about 4.5 years. So I'll be able to give that perspective as well to this presentation tonight, being able to talk to you about loan programs and lending and so on. We are both obviously real estate investors. We have properties. We've owned 3 properties. We presently own 2 properties, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. We are parents to 4 very active children who we've all told that they need to go disappear into their bedrooms right now and be very quiet so that we can have this presentation without any disruptions. And we do have 3 dogs, which there's a chance you're going to hear the dogs. I can't guarantee that we won't, but we've trained them pretty well. And Gina's probably giving them lots of bones to keep them quiet right now. And then the last piece of this is that we're going to be able to talk to you about these different loan programs, these different real estate investment products, processes, buy and hold, vacation and Airbnb rentals. We'll talk to you about property management and the BRRRR model, which might be new to some of you. Tatiana, I know you probably know all about it, but many people won't know that, but you're going to find out about it. So why invest in real estate? The first thing as an educator that I always did with my teachers as a principal was, what is your why? Think about what your why is for what you're doing. Why is it that you do what you do every day, right? And when I had my conversations with my teachers at Shea, why is it not only that you're a teacher, but why are you a teacher in Pawtucket? Why are you a teacher at Shea? So the same thing applies to this. Why would you invest in real estate? What is your goal? What is your purpose? What are you trying to accomplish? Everybody has different reasons why they do it, and we're all at different points in our lives. Some people on this are probably in their early 20s. Their reasoning might be very different than those of us that might be in our 50s, who might have children, who might be about to go to college. And so all of those different things come into play when you're starting to figure out what your why is for what you're doing. Some of us, oddly enough, crazily enough, I mean, I know I'm approaching 50, I just turned 49. And who would have ever thought that we'd be starting to think about the term retirement, right? Those of you that are teachers, by the way, thank you to Commissioner Gist, Governor Raimondo, back when she came in. And so you probably have to work till you're at least 65. Anyhow, we have to think about, what can we do to kind of get ourselves better prepared for retirement? Or is it possible to maybe even expedite that process? Can we move up the retirement process for ourselves? So those are some of the things that, you know, you're going to think about, and you guys everybody has to figure out for themselves what exactly their why is. So here's the 3 different models that I've mentioned already. So the first one is called the buy and hold model. And this is something that we are very familiar with. This is what we've pretty much done with each of our properties. You buy a property, and then you keep it and you rent it out to someone, and they would, in the normal model, they'll rent out on a monthly basis, year-long lease, and then you either renew the lease or you have them in a month-to-month rental situation thereafter. So we'll talk a little bit more about what the advantages of the buy and hold model are going to be. Next is the house flipping. You guys have probably seen these shows on HGTV and stuff like that. They make it look so easy and so elegant, And of course, they make it look glorious, because when they start out with this ugly piece of crap house, and all of a sudden it's this palatial thing that, you know, should be in Beverly Hills or something like that. It can happen, but maybe it's not that easy. Okay. But the house flipping is something that you definitely can, if you do it and you do it right and you do it properly, you can make a great living out of it. And you can do it again and again and again and again, and you develop your team, your contractors, and so on. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the last one is that BRRRR method that I was talking about. These are the three topics, three different types of investment products that we're going to be talking about tonight. So the BRRRR method, as you can see right there, it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So what it basically means is you find a property that might not be in the best shape, or maybe it just needs a facelift. Maybe it's not horrible, but it needs some improvements. You buy it and you rehab it. Then you rent it out. And because you've increased the value of it through the rehab process, and also time, depending on how long it's taken you, the appreciation of the home itself, now you're in a position that you might be able to refinance it. Once you refinance it, then you can go ahead, you can do a cash out refinance depending on the market. Obviously, the market that we saw over this past year or 2 years was ridiculous. How long will that continue? I don't know, but we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight as well. And once you refinance that, if you're able to do it as a cash out refinance, now you have some money available to you, you can use to go and buy another property and do the same thing over. So kind of like rinse and repeat. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So here's the buy and hold, right? What are the advantages of buying a property and holding on to it? So the first thing obviously is your debt pay down. You are going to make payments on the principal and the interest of the property, and over time, it's going to start to reduce. Obviously, that's what happens. You all know that in mortgages and in the banking industry, mortgages are front loaded with interest. So the amount that you pay down is smaller. So the principal it can be larger than the interest, but you can also expedite that process by making larger payments towards principal, or making an extra payment a year on the principal. So debt pay down starts to reduce the amount of the loan that you have. Cash flow, right? You're creating a passive income for yourself that comes to you monthly. All right. You're going to see some examples, our own personal examples that we'll talk about, that we're going to talk about what our monthly mortgage payment is, as well as the associated expenses that go along with owning a home. And then what our monthly income is that we're getting from the people that are renting the property. And as long as you can keep that positive, you're doing fine, because you're actually paying for a mortgage out of somebody else's pocket. Somebody else is paying your mortgage for you, and you're getting all the increased value in that property, which you're going to see in the next slide. I'm going to show you the ridiculous amount of increased value and appreciation that properties have gained this past year, the past 2 years, but even over the last 10 years. The next thing we're talking about is active appreciation. So if I were to buy a property and then I intentionally make improvements on that property. So like, I'll give you an example of one that we're going to talk about. We put 2 bedrooms into the basement of one of the properties that we own down in South Kingstown. Now we have 2 more bedrooms in that house. So we have 2 more students that we can rent that out to. Once again, I'm getting ahead of myself and we'll talk about that. But we spent money to make money. So now that money is going to allow us to be able to get more income from the property. That's called active appreciation. Passive appreciation is just that year over year, your houses are gaining in value. All right. The house that many of you on this are probably homeowners yourselves. And you know the house that you bought 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it's been, is significantly more in value today than it was when you first purchased it. And the next slide, once again, I said we'll speak to that. And then the last one I want to just touch on here is called depreciation. Now, people are probably looking at that and like, depreciation, that seems like the opposite. Well, depreciation is something that's good for you when it comes to tax time. Okay, you are able to depreciate the property that you own on your tax returns. And how that works is normal depreciation happens over a 27.5 year period. So if you have a $500,000 house and you depreciate it each year on your taxes, you're getting about $17,000 or $18,000, if the math's correct, in depreciation. All right. So that helps you to kind of offset the money that you're making on the property. All right. So if I made 40,000 and I depreciated the value of the house by 18,000, now I'm only making 22,000. Okay. And there's other things that we can also look at in regards to, in taxes that helps to decrease your overall payment to Uncle Sam. Because that's one of the things you have to pay attention to too, is that at the end of the day, if you're making money off of your investments and off your properties, Uncle Sam's going to be knocking. So when you do your tax returns, you have to take that into consideration. And I'll talk a little bit about, not that I have ways around it or figured out the perfect solution, but one of the things right here in depreciation is a cost segregation analysis that you can actually do. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to accelerate depreciation. The only problem with that is if you accelerate depreciation and you make it a 5-year or 7-year time frame instead of a 27.5-year time frame, then you're going to front load it, and you're going to be able to say, if I accelerate, and the way you accelerate depreciation is you look at all the line items in the house, you look at the floors, you look at the utility or the appliances, you look at the countertops, you look at the windows, and it's done through a process that you have to pay for. But instead of getting $18,000 that year, I might have gotten $120,000 that year because of the cost segregation analysis on my property. Thing is, after 5 years, I've got no depreciation left to do on my property. So for the next 25 years, I don't get to depreciate that $18,000 per year. So it's something to just kind of be aware of, but it doesn't necessarily fit everybody's needs. This slide right here is extremely informative. This tells us the total appreciation just in Rhode Island of homes over the last 12 months, over the last 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years. So what you can see is just over the last, from 2020 to 2021, Q4, all right, so the end of this past year, homes appreciated at a 19% rate in the state of Rhode Island. If you think about that, a $500,000 house, if my math is correct, just gained about $100,000 in value, doing nothing, just by owning it and keeping it over the course of the year. All right. Over 2 years, 27%, right? And over a 10-year frame, you're talking about 66%. So 10 years ago, you bought a house, it's worth 66% more today than it was 10 years ago. And if some of you have owned your homes for 10 years or more, you might be thinking back and saying, yeah, you know what? I bought my house for 300. Now it's worth about 500. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. But that's the thing that you get when you buy properties. Real estate over a long period of time is definitely going to appreciate in value. Okay, we've seen it. There's a 10-year time frame that we're showing right there. Does that mean that every single year you're always going to get that kind of appreciation? No, not necessarily. And will it ever dip? Sure, it can dip. I can remember on our house here, we bought it in 2003 at $386,000. By 2005, we refinanced it and it was at $500,000. But then when the market crashed and things went down, it dropped down below 386. So we were upside down, so to speak. But then by 2010 or so, it started to go up again. And now it's, I don't know what it is, 600,000-700,000. So it's definitely, you know, that 66, probably even more % increase in value over that time. House flipping. So we talked about house flipping. Here are the different things that you need to be aware of and pay attention if you're thinking about possibly getting into the house flipping game, all right? House flipping is basically short-term ownership. Most people who flip homes, holding on to them for about 3 to 6 months, all right? They buy a property, they maybe get it at a good deal, or maybe the property is you know, in some disrepair, and they have a team, right? House flippers typically have a team of contractors in place that they're going to have go out there and they're going to get the work going right away. And you need that, especially in today's situation, this market. Contractors are few and far between, and they're always, you know, 3, 6, 8 months out before they can get to your job. That won't work. If you're flipping a house and you're waiting for a contractor for 3 to 6 months, you're losing money. All right, those are your carrying costs, the money you're paying each month for the mortgage. the utilities, and so on and so forth. The other advantage of house flipping is you don't have to worry about renting out units and vetting people and going through that process, because you're never renting to anybody. You're buying a house, you're fixing a house, you're selling a house. You're not a landlord. There's no long-term costs, repairs. You don't have to worry about vacancy. You're getting in and out of deals. It creates quick income for you. Many people, they run the numbers. When they become proficient at this, they look at a house, they look at what they're going to do to fix the house, they look at comps in the area, and then they say, if I buy the house for 250, I put in 100 or 50, whatever, and I can sell it for 400, I can make after closing costs and so on, I can make a $60,000, $70,000 profit. Does that make sense over a 6-month time frame? If it makes sense for you, you do it. So that's a house flipping. But as I said, it's important to make sure you have a team of people in place, or you better be very handy, and maybe you and your wife and your children. Child labor, don't worry about that as long as they're your children. But you also have to have the tools to be able to do it if you're trying to do something like that yourselves. We're not flippers. We don't flip. We watch the flipping shows and we talk about how we think we'd be good at it, but we don't do it. Gina's very decorative. She's very decorative, and I like to build. How can I afford an investment property? All right, so this is more for those people who haven't already bought a house. You're young, you're thinking about my options. What do I want to do? I don't yet own a house. Okay, you can get an FHA loan, and with 3.5% down, you can go out and buy a 3-family or a 4-family. You have to live there though. You live in 1 unit, you rent out the other 2 or 3 units. Okay, if you're fortunate enough to find a 4-family and you can get it, you live in 1, rent out 3. I guarantee you the income you're generating from those other 3 units is going to pay for all of your mortgage and then some. You're going to be making money every month just because of the amount of rent associated with those other 3 units. All right, I'll just give you quick math, right? $500,000 house, 3.5% down, $480-something loan. Your monthly payment on that might be like $3,500. Those other 3 units are going to be renting for probably $1,400 to $1,500 a unit right now, depending on where you are. That's $4,500 coming in, and it's $35 going out. There's of course other costs as far as like some of the utilities you'll cover, but usually you have renters paying gas and paying electric. Typically the owners, the landlords, cover the water and the sewer. And we also cover trash removal, which is typically a cost that's covered by the landlords. But you're clearing money and you're living rent free. So that's a great way for somebody who's starting out. If you're a veteran, obviously you have to be a military vet, either active or retired. You have access to the VA loan. The VA loan lets you go with 0% down. You can do multifamilies with VA loans. I actually helped somebody buy a $1.2 million or $1.3 million 3-family up in Boston area with a VA loan. They were able to buy the house for $3,000 or $4,000 out of their pocket. Ridiculous, but it's possible. So that's for people who might have access to the VA loan. And the last one we'll talk about with primary residence here, Conventional Home Possible is a income restricted loan program where you can put down just 5%. It's based on the average median income of the area. In Rhode Island, it's $70,000. Okay, so if you earn less than $70,000, you can qualify for Home Possible and put just 5% down and buy up to a 4-unit. So residential loans are up to 4 units, from 1 to 4 units. Here's your investment purchases now. So investment purchases are purchases that are being made and you have no intention of moving into the property. You're buying a property and you're going to stay in your own residence, and you're buying it simply for the opportunity to make money off of it. That's considered an investment. Larger amounts of down payments are required for investment purchases. In a conventional loan, so the conventional loan limits are up to $647,000 in our state, in Rhode Island, and they vary in other states across the country, 647, 200 is what the conventional loan limit is. But if you go near Boston or go near like New York City or San Francisco, where the average median income's higher, you can get higher with the conventional loans. But just we'll talk about Rhode Island, since most of you are probably Rhode Island on here. You can do anywhere from 15 to 25% down. 15% down is what is required for a single family. The minimum requirement for a single family is 15% down. If you want to go into the multifamilies, both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac require 25% down. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the private conventional loan entities that give us, they do all the guidelines that we have to adhere to. So as long as you have 25% down on a 2 to 4 unit or 15% down on a single. We also at North Point Bank have a loan program that most banks don't carry, but it's called a non-QM, a non-qualified mortgage, but it's an investor cash flow loan. The investor cash flow loan will allow us to help somebody who's buying an investment property, who might have the assets. They have money that they have in a bank. They can show evidence that they have at least 20% down. So you can do 20% down on a 4-family with the investor cash flow. How that works is we pull credit. If you have a 740 credit score or higher, then you just need a minimum of 20% down. And then the only other thing that we look for, we look at the assets in your bank. The only other thing that we need is an appraisal. The appraisal is going to determine the rental value of the units. All right. And so the debt service coverage ratio, as I mentioned there, the DSCR, if you have a 3-unit property and each unit rents for $1,500, all right, and you buy it for $500,000, you need to show that you have $100,000 plus the closing costs, which would be about $8,000 on that, plus 6 months reserves. So maybe you need to show about $130,000 in a bank account. Now we're looking at the appraisal. $4,500 coming in, your monthly mortgage payment's like $3,500. You qualify. You're bringing in more money than you're spending on your mortgage. You qualify for that loan. That's it. That's all we need. We don't need W-2s. We don't need tax returns. We don't need pay stubs. It's all about the subject property and the debt service coverage ratio. Are you going to make more money from the property than your monthly mortgage payment? If so, you're good to go. So that's a unique loan that we have that could be used for investors. Now, the question is, how in the world do I come up with that kind of money? How do I do this? So some people have been smart over the years with their investments. They may have stock accounts. They may have investments accounts where they have some money. Some people have 401ks or 403bs from working for long periods of time in education. You have money each year that's taken out and set aside so that when you get to retirement, you're going to be able to access that money. You have the ability to actually go in and request access to that money. The IRS allows people to borrow up to $50,000 or 50% of the value of their 401k for an investment property. So that is one way that you can access funds. If you are buying it as a primary residence, you can get it as a gift. You can get a gift from a family member, but you cannot get gifts for investment purchases. All right. But we can always talk about that too. You can always contact me offline. We can talk about plans and figuring things out. You can do a cash out refi on your primary home. Now, obviously, this was a big thing in the last 2 years. Cash out refis were huge because the rates were just so low and everybody was taking advantage of that and taking advantage of the equity in their property. The rates prospectively are still low. It's all about perspective. I bought in 2003. We bought at 7.25 was the rate that we had in 2003. And now, obviously we've been in the 2s and the 3s, and now we're up to the 4s and the 5s. But it's all about perspective. If we look at just the last 2 years, you say, oh my God, these rates are ridiculous. They're definitely higher than they were in the last 2 years, but not necessarily where they were. And anybody who was If anybody on here owned a house back in the 80s, the rates were 14, 15%, which is ridiculous. But, or you can even do a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan on your property. Because the values of homes have increased so much, especially over the last 2 years, you probably have significant equity in your property, and a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan may be a good option, because maybe you're like, no, you know what? I got a 3% rate on my house. I don't want to touch that. Okay, look at a home equity loan, a home equity line of credit. Those rates are going to go off the prime rate, which is always going to change. Home equity loan, you can get a locked in fixed rate. Home equity line of credit is going to adjust off of the prime rate. So you'd have to check with each bank that you want to talk to about those. What types of properties can you invest in? You can do the multifamily. You can even do a single family. You don't have to do a multifamily. You're going to hear our story in a few minutes, and we started with a single family. We did a traditional month-to-month, year-long rental on a single family, where we were making more money than we were spending in the mortgage each month, which was obviously the goal. Or you can look at the short-term vacation rental type properties. So we're going to talk about those as well. And that's where Gina will come into play too, because she's the one who does the majority of the work on that. First thing though, I'm going to touch on is multifamily. Now, I'm going to be speaking to you on multifamilies from a perspective of somebody who knows from the mortgage end all about this. I haven't done multifamilies personally, but I can give you knowledge and insight into this. And there's some people on here that maybe are already invested in multifamilies, and they can talk more about that as well. So let's say, for instance, you're buying a multifamily. It's $500,000 for a three unit. Your conventional loan requires 25% down. You need to be able to put down $125,000 on that. Okay, so your loan amount is $375,000. Taxes are about $500 a month, and that's probably pretty fair. The way I always do taxes, and it seems to work out in the mortgage industry, is whatever the purchase price is, the per month amount is like 1% of that. So a $500,000 would be $500 per month. It usually works out to be pretty close to that. Home insurance on a 3-family will be about probably $200 per month for you. So your monthly principal, interest, tax, and insurance on a property like this would probably be somewhere around $3,000, give or take. It may be a little bit less than that. And it also comes down to whatever the rate is that you're able to get at the time, and so on. The things that you do take account of, the landlord, is going to be the water, the sewer, and the trash removal. Typically, not always, but typically you're expecting the tenant to pay for the gas and electric. Okay. The other things that you as a landlord take care of are any of the repairs and maintenance pertaining to the property, the landscaping, right? Keeping of the grounds. You may or may not say that you're going to do the shovel or the removal of snow in the winter. We do not do the snow removal. We do the lawn maintenance on the properties that we have down in South County, but we don't require, with the kids, if it's a big snow, we'll plow it out, but the kids have been shoveling it out whenever necessary. I say kids, students. We do student rentals, and we'll talk about that. So basically, you've got $4,500 of money coming in, right? Each unit's renting at $1,500, which is a fair number right now. Times 12 is $54,000 coming in. You're losing, you're expending $36,000 for your mortgage, and then 10% around $5,400 for repairs and maintenance. So over the course of the year, you're bringing in about $12,600. That's probably fair. It might be a little low. You may be able to do better than that, but it's a fair estimate of what you could be doing based on those different facts and figures. So a little over $1,000 a month you're bringing in. So that's above and beyond your costs. Now we have short-term rental, vacation rental properties. So Gina's going to be speaking about this a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about it, but then I'm also going to turn it over to her, because this is something that she's also been working with and so on. She does all of our Airbnb. I don't. She takes care of it online, so she can talk to you guys about that. So I'll click on this link, and I think this takes us to it does. Okay. It takes us to this is one of the properties that we own in South Kingstown, right in Wakefield. So Gina can talk to you a little bit about this, and you can see her picture there. She's the hostess with the mostest. She's a super host.
So we chose Airbnb basically because they take care of all of the monetary exchange. You don't have to worry about collecting anybody's money, returning anybody's money, etc. You also have a yearly calendar on here, so I can pretty much block off any date that is not available for anybody to rent, and maybe we want to rent a week, right? And basically leave open whatever is available. There's a bunch of different settings on Airbnb. So the settings that I have set for our summer rentals are Saturday to Saturday, right? And that's up to everybody's individual needs. Basically, down in South County, we just go with the flow of what regular summer rentals are down there, and they're Saturday to Saturday rentals. So that's what I have set up. And then you also set the price per night. So on the previous slide, you would have seen a link for AirDNA. That is, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. After Gina talks about this, I'll get back to the PowerPoint, and AirDNA is going to be a site that I'll talk a little bit more about that helps you to better understand how you can price your rentals.
Or it's easy as going on Airbnb yourself and actually looking up similar homes to your property and coming in right around where they are or just below, right? So that way you have a better rate than they have. It's an easy website to use. I like it because I can do everything right on my phone. I can pretty much, I get reviews. If somebody wants to book our house, Airbnb lets me know somebody wants to book your home. They have X number of reviews or they don't have any reviews, right? And then I reach out to the person directly and I say, I see you have no reviews. Can you tell me a little bit about, your group that's, wanting to stay in our property? And then from there, I can either accept or deny. It's as easy as that. The biggest thing about the week-to-week short-term rentals is the upkeep, right? So how do you do that transition? Well, for us, our Saturday to Saturday rentals, the renters leave at 10 a.m. and new renters come in at 3. So that's only a 5-hour window. It's a very fast turnover. The key to making that all happen is having a really good cleaner. So you find a good house cleaner that's reliable and dependable. You meet with them beforehand. You go over the expectations. You have a closet where you keep any items like toilet paper, paper towels, things that you want to replenish stored away. They have the key to that as well. And you build a relationship of trust and expectations. And that way, I can be in a different state on vacation while other people from another state are in my house on vacation. And really, that's the key. There's other little things too as well. I put, a presentation together with a little link. So, a week or so before they come, they can see all the restaurants in the area, things to do, how much the beaches are in South County, little things like that. I'm also very good at responding back right away. So that's one of the key things, is to have excellent communication. And that's probably why I'm a super host, because I respond, I respond right away, and try to answer as many questions as possible beforehand and while they're there. And of course, we like to have the house with every possible amenity that somebody's going to need while they're away. There are little things that we don't provide. We don't provide towels or linens. Why? Because it can sleep 16 people, and I don't know how in a 5-hour window between 10 and 3 o'clock we're going to wash all of those bed sheets and towels and clean the house. There is a linen service down in South County, Sue's Linens. She's great. She gives me a 20% off coupon link, and I share that right away with people and let them know. You can bring your own, or if you would like to rent, they will be here. Sue drops the linens off by 3 and picks them up at the end of the week. So it's a lovely thing. And there's, if this was the route that you were interested in going into, I could answer, of course, aside from tonight, any questions that you would have to help you out.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that we enjoy this model, and this is something that we're kind of leaning towards as far as our own personal preference of what we're doing. So I'll click on this other link, and then hopefully once I click on this link, I'll be able to get back to the PowerPoint on the slide. But this is AirDNA, and we'll see what comes up with AirDNA. Oh, I had a feeling it was going to do this. Let me see if we're able to.
Well, you can just explain it.
All right, seems like it's going to spiral on us anyhow. Oh, no, no, there. Anyhow, if you can see in the background here, let me just see if, so here's a map, and what you do is up here, you punch in whatever town and whatever zip code, and then you can do a search. So there is a free version, but the free version is very limited as far as what information it gives you, but there's a paid for version. And when we first started this, I paid for it for maybe 2 or 3 months. And I use this to kind of look around different areas and get a better understanding of what is the average daily rate that I can be charging for my property. What's the occupancy rate that you see in these areas? So obviously up here in New England, we have a limited time span that we're able to rent properties out for. If you find a property in Texas or in Key West, Florida, or something like that, you might be able to rent 52 weeks out of 52 weeks.
Or even like New Hampshire, because people go to New Hampshire all 4 seasons. Yeah,
you could find something in North Conway and you could get it for skiers, you could get it for hikers, you could get it for, the summer when they go whitewater rafting or whatever. So there's definitely things, and Nashville, Tennessee is another hot one right now. Nashville's a place where a lot of people seem to want to go all the time, right? Or maybe Colorado, your skiers, wherever. You can use this to kind of look around and figure out what it is you want and figure out a price point. Now, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but basically within here, I'm able to change, I can't because it's blocked, but I'm able to change the size of the property. So because we have a 6-bed, 2-bath, and we can sleep 15, I put that information in, and then that average daily rate goes from $333 to like $500 a night. Okay, because you now have a property that most don't have. And so you can charge more because you can sleep more. 3 full families can stay at our house in Wakefield. So if you think about that, a week long of 3 full families, they'd be spending at least, I don't know, $1,500 or more to stay at a hotel for 6-7 nights, right? So if you each charge 15, that's $4,500. That's basically what you're going to pay to stay there for a full week. And it's a much better place than staying at a hotel, right? I don't know if you guys saw that kitchen. That kitchen's nicer than the kitchen we have at home. We have 2 kitchens at our rental properties that are nicer than our kitchens at home. It's ridiculous. But anyhow, I digress. So I'm going to see if I can click on this. Good. And keep on trucking. All right. Here's our story. We're going to tell you about what we did, how we did it. Because sometimes people like to hear, how is it that you actually did it? Well, here's how we did it. We started with this little house right here. This is the little house that's in our neighborhood in Lincoln, Rhode Island, right around the corner from us. We were able to buy it, a 2-bed, 1-bath. We were able to buy it for $173,000. We purchased it literally at the beginning of COVID. We went under contract before COVID happened. Then COVID hit. We closed on this property, I think on April 1st, and then we had it rented out by May 1st. Gina, myself, and our 4 kids would go over to the house, and we did all of the improvements to the property. Gina and I probably did the majority of it. 1 or 2 of our daughters probably did a little bit too, but the 2 boys weren't so helpful. But I don't want to say they weren't. They did a little bit. But anyhow, we did the improvements ourselves, and over about a 3-week period, we made the house a lot better, a lot more appealing. Then I put it out on Facebook Marketplace, and I think on Zillow, and we had it rented like within a week. And we rented this at $1,800. Our monthly payment was about $1,000 a month because it wasn't a big purchase. We did, and this is the thing, and I think a lot of people, and maybe educators, those of you that are on this that are educators, you're thinking about the amount of money that it costs to start. I remember the two of us kind of saying, that's putting up 40 grand. That's a lot to start with. It's a lot to put that money out. But you'll hear our story and you'll find out how this worked out. And it can work out, but it can be scary and it seems like a lot of money, but you're basically investing your money in something that's going to continue to return for you over time. So you can see right here, and I did the numbers here in putting this slide presentation together. And I was like, wow, you realize, I didn't realize that really over the span of the first year, we didn't even turn a profit on the house because we invested probably, we might have invested short of 10,000, but it was around $10,000 between the initial investments on the property. And then, we did, the termite and the mice and the pests and all that other stuff we treated for and so on. But at the end of 1 year, we maybe were like breaking even on that house. But the following year, we were going to keep turning a profit of $800 or more per month. And that was going to be what, we were seeing coming in. But what we actually ended up doing was after owning it for 1 year, because the market had improved so much. And we also, I wasn't necessarily enjoying getting called over there to make him, I was the guy who did the property management, went over and did the fixing of stuff because I'm handy. But I felt like I was getting called over there too much. And I was kind of like, you know what, I think at the end of this year cycle, this term that we've a lease agreement with you, we're going to sell this. So we sold it, and we sold it for $255,000. Now, remember, a year earlier, we bought it for $173,000. So you can do the math there, and you can see there's about an $80,000 profit that's made on that property in 1 year. That worked out for us because of what the market had done. But as you saw from that other slide, the appreciation of home values is there. It exists, and it's continual. 10-year period, you saw 5.8% improvement appreciation every year. So we did a 1031 exchange, which I will talk more about because that's a term most people don't know anything about. And we used the proceeds from that to buy a different house that we have down in South Kingstown. So we have 2 houses down in South Kingstown. The 1031 exchange, which is also known as a like-kind exchange. So maybe there's somebody on here right now that actually already owns an investment property. And you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I could make a pretty good profit on the sale of my investment property. Maybe I could go and I could buy one of these, Airbnb type setups that Don and Gina are talking about. What you do is, and I have a person I can connect you with, his name's Joe Akaway. He does 1031 exchanges here in the state of Rhode Island. You have to have somebody who's licensed to do it. And I had to contact him in advance of the sale of the property on Bellevue because he has to be involved. And at the close of the property, all the proceeds from the sale of that property go to him, and he holds on to them until it's time to invest in the new property. And then when you invest in the new property, all those proceeds, those go towards the investment of the new property. And in doing this, you are able to avoid capital gains tax. Okay, those of you that aren't familiar with capital gains tax, Uncle Sam always likes his cut. Okay, and if you make a profit off the sale of an investment property, Uncle Sam's going to be coming and knocking, and he'll be taking anywhere from 25 to 35 and maybe more % of what you made off the sale of that property. And that's tough to deal with. But if you use the 1031 exchange, and as I've continued to learn more, because I'm always learning, I'm an educator and I'm always continuing to learn and grow and improve. And I've learned not too long ago, I can 1031 exchange until I die. So this 1031 exchange I did on 3 Bellevue to buy 105 Aaron. If I want to do a 1031 on 105 Aaron, I can do a 1031 on 105 Aaron and buy a different or maybe a bigger or nicer property. And then if I want to do that on that one, I can do that as well. You don't pay on the capital gains until you sell it for cash. If you finally sell the property and you just have somebody pay you and you take that money and you keep it, you're going to get hit for the capital gains on that property, the preceding property, and so on. So just be aware of that. You can 1031, and as I was talking to Joe Akaway, who's the gentleman I used, he said the term they use is swap till you drop. That's a way to keep from having to deal with the capital gains tax. All right. Now, if you are doing the 1031, there's a few things that you need to pay attention to. I mentioned the middleman, the intermediary. In our state, I know a gentleman, Joe Akaway, who I would refer you guys to. You have to have them involved in the process. When you close on the sale of your property, when we closed on 3 Bellevue in Lincoln, I had 45 days to determine the next property that we were going to be buying with that money. You can choose up to 3 properties. The IRS allows you to choose up to 3. You have to designate 3 properties. If you don't end up buying any of those 3, then you don't get to use the 1031. You got to pay your capital gains tax. Okay, so you have 45 days to designate one of 3 properties. Once you obviously lock in on one, you have 6 months from the date that you closed on. For us, it was 3 Bellevue. I had 6 months to be able to buy the 105 Aaron. Now, the way we are both very type A, as soon as we knew we were selling 3 Bellevue, we were already looking. So we were under contract on 105 Aaron before 3 Bellevue closed. So it wasn't an issue for us. But just know if you don't find it, it takes a while. You've got 6 whole months to close on that next property, but you've got 45 days to designate which property it's going to be. Okay. Now here was the first big one we bought down in South Kingstown in Wakefield. This one, I think, still our pride and joy. This one, 41 School Street, right behind Old Mountain Lanes, perfect location, right in the center of town, right around everything. We bought it for $509, 20% down. So it's $101,800, closing costs of around seven, 8 grand. It was, I don't know. So about $108,000, $109 up front. Immediately, we put $20,000 into it by increasing down in the basement. Pulled permits, did it all on the up and up, went to the town, pulled permits, put 2 bedrooms down in the basement, put like a living room, sitting room down in the basement, made it all nice. I actually did the construction work myself. That was a pretty crazy 6 weeks of building. But I did sub out some stuff like the plaster and the flooring and stuff like that. But we were able to save some money, obviously, by doing it ourselves. And then the students, we got it up and rented to students as soon as we knew we were buying this property. There's a Facebook site for URI student rentals. We went on that and listed it and got students locked in for the first semester, spring semester of that year. So we had students in there. When the students left, we did more improvements. We put a nice stamped concrete back patio, a new driveway. So that's another 22 grand. So all in all, that first initial costs up in that first year was about 150,000. So it's a significant upfront cost. But then we set up with student rentals and students. We have 6 bedrooms in this property now. Each student pays $800 a month, and the students are there for 9 months. They're there from September through May. So you take $4,800 times 9 months, that's $43,200. Our monthly principal and interest is about $2,400. Principal, interest, tax, and insurance, the whole thing is about $2,400 times 12 months is $28,800. And then the summer Airbnb is the big thing. Because it's such a big property and it can sleep up to 15, 16 people, we're able to get up to $5,000 a week in the busiest weeks. And even in the slower weeks, it's still like 4,500. So basically 5,000, it's really 14 weeks in the summer that you can count. We say 12 because we allot for a little bit of the possibility that it's not rented every single week. That brings 60,000 in. So overall, the income, when you add those 2 numbers, you get 103,000 minus the 28.8 gives you 74.4. Repairs and maintenance of 5,000 per year. That's talking about landscaping. That's talking about maybe basic repairs. Even if that bumps up to 10,000, we're still clearing about 70,000. For 5,000, we're clearing about 70,000 on that type of rental property. So that's the one that we like. The thing I like about this is the students know they're there from September till May. They're not like trying to stay. Like the other property on 3 Bellevue that we sold, we did deal with some tenants that became a little obstinate at the end and were talking about not leaving. Students know at May 23rd, they're out. The school year is over. They're not staying. And then summer Airbnb, it's a week to week. It's like a hotel. They come, they stay for a week, they're gone. They come, they stay for a week, they're gone. So we're not dealing with that. Obviously, you know, there could be other issues that could arise, and you're probably saying, yeah, but renting to students, that's crazy. It is, but we also make sure that we vet them as both educators, and we sit down and we do this. We start with the Zoom video conference with students, and we make sure we have conversations with them and let them know how important these properties are to us. And we're not just some big property management company. We're people with kids, and we actually value these properties. So that's 41 School Street. Here is 105 Aaron Drive. This is the one that we bought through the 1031 exchange. This one was purchased for $475. Once again, 20% down investment. I could have done 15. We could have done 15% down on each of these. We didn't know. We went with 20. No mortgage insurance. Also, you get a slightly better rate if you put down a little bit more money, right? 20%, 25%, 30%. All those things help your rate. So those were the decisions we made. So the down payment was 95, closing costs of about 7. So all in about 102. We did have to furnish it. Facebook Marketplace, love it. Went on Facebook Marketplace. We found this wonderful lady in North Providence. It was basically clearing out her whole house. She had some really nice furniture. She was going to be building a new house in Rehoboth. She's like, come take it all. So we still talk to her still to today. But anyhow, that was a good find. So we just try to take advantage of those types of opportunities. But once again, all the money that we got from the sale of 103 Bellevue, or sorry, 3 Bellevue Ave was applied to this property. So basically no new money had to come out of pocket, or very little new money had to come out of pocket to be able to buy this property, because we made that first step. We bought that first property, took that first chance, and a year later it turned into an $80,000 profit for us. So in the same situation here, 4 students. So this house is 4 bedrooms, not 6. This house is 4 bedrooms. So we get 3,200 times 9, 28,800. Our monthly payment is 2,300 times 12, 27,600. And so just the student rental alone covers all the mortgage payment for the year. So summer Airbnb is just all profit. So 4,000 a week is what we get on that house, 12 weeks. So you can see the math. So we make about 44,000 over the course of the year, and that includes, you know, the maintenance of the property. Obviously, you could have repairs. You could have significant repairs. This house is a septic, so we are going to have to pump the septic every year. But that's $200 to $300 to pump the septic. You know, if the hot water tank breaks, you know, that's $800, $1,000, whatever. You know, these are things that we do take into consideration. But you look at the bottom line and you make a decision, and you know, and over time, you're going to set up your people. You're going to set up people, your plumbers, your electricians, you know, and if you're handy and you can do some of it yourself, that's great. If you don't want to do anything yourself, then you just set up. My cousin Ty has more properties than we have, and he doesn't do anything himself.
Or you just call Roto-Rooter. We've had to call Roto-Rooter, and they come out for free unless something has to be done.
Yeah.
If it's an actual plumbing issue, though, then it's $99 for them to come out and tell you what needs to be done.
Right.
So we had a leaky toilet, and Don was able to change the bolts out in the leaky toilet. They wanted $600, and Don could go to Home Depot and buy the kit for $60. So we went with Don.
Yes. All right. So that is the end of the slide presentation. And now what we'll do is, how do we get this thing back to a full-size screen?
Unshare.
Unshare it, yeah. Stop share.
Yeah. That's it. There we go. All right. So now what I'll do, obviously the mute is off, or Myrna's just figured out how to get through the mute somehow.
No, I unmuted it. I wanted to tell you, someone wrote in, they asked you a question. For the investor cash flow loan, do you need to do a hard pull for credit?
Yes, you do need to do a hard pull. Anytime in the mortgage company that you're going to be doing any sort of process of helping somebody qualify for a mortgage, the first step is always going to be a hard pull. The hard pull has about a 1 to 5 point hit on your credit score. It is not a significant hit on credit, as some people think it is. So it doesn't destroy your credit, but it is a requirement. And we can go down as low as 620 credit score on the investor cash flow loan. But when you go down lower, then the down payment increases and the rate also is impacted. So typically I talk with people and I say at 740 and better, you can put down 20%. And because that is what it is, you can, you know, put down as little as 20%. And are you living rent free?
No, I put down that, you know, when you were writing, when you were giving the numbers for the multifamily, you were showing that it's a positive income, but at the end of the day, you're also living rent free.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you own a 3-family, typically you're basically living rent free and making little to no extra income each month. The money you're renting for is covering your mortgage payment. When you're living in a 2-family, you might have to pay $1,000 and you're bringing in $1,500, you know, to offset. If you're living in a 4-family, you're probably living rent free plus making $1,000 a month in income. So, you know, that's somewhat standard. And, you know, I see Tatiana on here. I know, Tatiana, you work with multifamilies a lot. So you might be able to talk about that a little bit, or if you agree with what I'm saying, whatever. Are you guys, can you unmute, or let me see, do I have to unmute everybody?
They can unmute themselves.
Oh, okay, they can all unmute, okay.
Definitely. You pretty much nailed it. So yeah, if you are looking in specifically a duplex, you're going to be coming out of pocket. Still a lot better than renting, you know, but definitely going to be coming out of pocket. You don't come across too many 4-families, but the 3-families definitely are an opportunity to begin to, you know, what we call house hacking, right? Where you can, you know, have your mortgage offset so that you can, you know, begin to work on other projects and things like that by not having to necessarily come out of pocket. So it's a great opportunity for anyone who is currently renting or is just interested in building some wealth and using that, you know, 3.5% as an example to get started in real estate.
Excellent. I'm just scrolling through right now and seeing the names and faces of some of the different people who are on, because when I was doing my presentation, I couldn't see everybody. So I just want to welcome you guys all. Jakari, good to see you. I got a chance to work with Jakari back, help him buy a house. It's great to see him. I think you were teaching tonight, Jakari, right?
Yes, exactly. Last week of school.
All right. Good to see you guys on. All right. So were you doing a Zoom?
I'm doing a Zoom right now. Yeah.
You're doing Zoom with the kids?
Well,
With
you know,
students?
last week of class, you just kind of go over things and they get ready for finals. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you were able to hop on here. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Don. Thank you so much.
Hopefully everything's working out well with the house.
Oh, it's amazing. I can't
Awesome.
thank you enough.
Yeah. So you're an example of somebody who's doing it. Angel, good to see you on there too, bud. And then Seth, you and I have connected before. Gianni, Evelyn, great to see you. Wow, there's quite a few people. Pilar, Ashwin, Claudino. If anybody on here has any questions, this is the time to ask. If this brought up any topics, any questions you might have, or if you came to the conversation today, Brad, good to see you. If you came to the conversation today with any questions, go ahead and shoot.
Don, can you mention a little bit about if you had a primary residence, you then acquired another primary residence, you switch residency, what are the capital gains implications? I know there's like some rule, like if you live there 2 out of the past 5 years, you're exempt or something to the effect?
Yeah, I don't want to give misinformation. That's a good question for your CPA, but I think you're spot on. I'm quite confident that if you're there for over 2 years, you're not going to be paying capital gains for a primary residence.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm pretty confident that's the answer, but I also don't want to answer it and be incorrect. And then somebody be like, oh, Don told us, now we're paying capital gains tax. I've been in that situation before with my primary residence where we lived there for just over 2 years. And everybody at the time was telling me, make sure you're there for 2 years. And it was literally 2 years and a day maybe before we moved out. But that's the situation when it's your primary. You don't get hit with the capital gains.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Take a look at the chat, Don.
What's that?
Take a look at the chat.
Can a business entity LLC with multiple investment properties apply for the investor cash flow loan without pulling personal credit? That's a good question. I will find a definitive answer for you, Gianni. I know you can actually close in an LLC on this particular loan product. It's the only loan product that I know of, and the only one I know we have, that you can close the loan as an LLC. I will just have to inquire about the credit inquiry, because I believe in any loan, we need to have some credit pull.
Yes.
I know you have to be either a citizen or a resident alien, or you can be a non-resident alien as long as you have active working papers to be able to be eligible to use the investor cash flow loan for a purchase. But I'm pretty sure you're going to need your own, somebody's going to have to be able to get a credit pull as part of the LLC to be eligible to use it. I will double check for you, but I'm pretty confident that is the answer, but you can close it in an LLC.
Same here. I did do a loan where it was with an LLC, and I had to pull whoever was the person, the POA, to sign in the LLC. I did have to pull their credit. It has to be someone's credit.
Yeah, and the LLC has to actually be related to real estate too. So your LLC can't be in, sewing and fabrics and think that you can go buy properties. You have to have a real estate LLC, and you have to be at least 50% owner. So I think I'm answering my own question anyhow, because there does need to be a person pulled, and it could be one of two people within the LLC that is pulled. But you have to be real estate involved in order to close as an LLC. Hernani, good to see you, buddy. There's that Valdir.
We both here.
All right, good to see you guys. Look at you. You guys out getting a little something to eat?
Oh yeah.
You guys are doing your own thing. You guys are out there. You bought some multifamily, six unit, right?
Yes, sir.
And now you've been working on it. Now you've been renovating it.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're probably going to get it ready and rent it. Yep.
Yes, sir. That's
So
our
you're-
next burr.
That's awesome. The burr. You're doing the burr.
Oh, yeah.
You guys.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions? Will you be sharing your contact info if we want to reach out? Yes, absolutely, Nancy. I did put it at the end of this, but I did cut through quickly. So let me just type it in right here.
Well, great presentation, Don.
What was that, Ernest?
I said great presentation. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, gracias.
De nada.
I did video record it. I know Tatiana had asked me, there was some people within her woman investment group that were interested in seeing and hearing it who couldn't make it tonight. So I did record it. So I will figure out how to make the recording available and share it out to people as well. I have obviously everybody's email, so I will be able to get this information out to you guys. And I can give you guys even a copy of the PowerPoint. I don't have a problem sharing that with you. When I was an educator, I learned that if somebody's created something, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. Not that this PowerPoint's the be all end all and has all the answers, it doesn't, but it's got some useful information in it, I think. And in there, you'll also see on the final slide, my contact information, so I can get that out as well. I see Pilar's question. Yes, we do all 50 states. That's a pretty awesome thing about North Point Bank. Licensed in all 50 states. I can close loans from Maine to Hawaii, and we can do the investor cash flow loan in all 50 states. With the investor cash flow as well, you can do use it up to 5 times. Each person can use it up to 5 times for a total of $3 million. All right, so you can buy 5 $600,000 properties, or you can buy, you can figure the math, you can do it. But say you have a significant other. One of you can use it 5 times and the other person can use it 5 times. As long as you're able to, have the credit score on the loan, and as long as you have the assets to be able to do it. Those are the guideline requirements. And as I pointed out, you have to either be a citizen, resident alien, non-resident alien with legal working papers. Yes, Ashwin, I will be sharing it out. I do have everybody's email address. I should have it all from the Eventbrite sign up. So I'll go through and I will, I think I can grab it as a CSV and download it, and then I'll email from my own work email the PowerPoint to everybody. And then obviously you'll have my contact information from the email I'm going to be sending to you. Yeah.
Hey, Don, I have a question regarding the transition from student rental to summer rentals.
Yep.
I've heard investors, they'll change furniture and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
This is kind of catered. Do you do that?
Yes. So both of us can answer this one, but yes, you are right. And we don't do an extensive transformation of the house. Like, we have some nice furniture in the house with the students, but there are some things that we don't have out with the students that we put away. And like in the back patio, especially at 41 School Street, we have a lot of really nice outdoor furniture and fire pit and some couches and stuff like that. Those we have a nice garage right there. We take and we put away and we lock up in the garage throughout the student rental timeframe.
That's also written into the lease agreement as well, that all furniture, if they rearrange the furniture themselves, everything has to be put back where it was, or there's a fee that is charged. We will be purchasing a new couch for one of our properties. What we may do is take the existing couch and store that in the garage and then just change it out at the end of the year. One of the properties, we have a newer couch, and I went onto Amazon and I just bought a slip cover to go right over it. They're fully aware that any damages caused come directly out of their security deposit. So it's in their best interest to keep that slip cover on and make sure that nothing spills. Accidents happen, but that's also why we have the security deposit.
Yeah, I think having a good, strong contract in place, a lease agreement, whether it's somebody who you're renting to year round, or in our case, the student rental. And then there's protections within Airbnb as well for any damages that are done to the property. There is security held from Airbnb. So, we can also, if anybody decides they want to go down this route and you guys want to work with us, we're happy to share that information with you guys and even give you a copy of the lease agreement that we use that really addresses all of the legalities of, what these students can and can't do. And the other thing we do is when we sign student leases, we also have their parents sign. A parent or guardian has to sign alongside them, thus holding that adult accountable as well for the students' behavior and any damages and stuff like that.
We also have some great neighbors too that keep us informed of all the comings and goings of the properties.
Yes,
So.
that is important. It's important to make friends with the neighbors that you're going to be living near or owning property near, just because you're not there, but they are. We did have a gentleman who informed us, an older gentleman, he's got to be in his 80s, Charlie, wonderful man. We talk to him every time we're down there. He lives right across the street. He let me know that there were 55 students, 55 people went into that house the other day, he said. And I was like, what was it?
52, it was 52.
52. And I was like, wow, Charlie, that seems like a lot of students. I was like, is that just like a rough number? He goes, nope. He goes, I counted them, 52 of them walked in. I was like, all right. So I then addressed it immediately. I created the story that the police had called us to come down here and address an issue. And then I went over to the students and had that conversation. And I think that was the last time they ever had any number of students like that over.
They were all going to the Block Island Ferry or something, and
They were
house
going to
was the-
Newport.
our
It was the
house
meeting
was
spot.
Meeting spot. We were like, well, you need to pick a different meeting spot.
But yeah, I mean, that's important. But, knock on wood, we were fortunate that the students that we rented to were very well behaved and they took good care of the house. And when we took it over after the spring session of last year, we barely had to do anything. We did to do a cleaning, but we didn't need to.
We are going on Saturday to view both properties, so the students know that we're coming inside to see, you know, what the reparations are going to be. Because right away, starting in the beginning of June, we have people coming to stay in the property. So again, it's a 2-week tight turnaround. If things need to be fixed in the property, we have 2 weeks to get it done. So we need to know before they leave who we need to get on deck if there's anything bigger than an us job to take care of.
So we're learning all the tricks of the trade. We're learning all the ins and the outs and making sure that we are preparing ourselves for that transition timeframe. The hope is that everything's in decent shape and we're not going to have any major issues that we have to address. We'll find out better this weekend. And then we really, we'll go down there the day they leave. The cleaning crew will come in, they'll do their thorough clean, and we'll go down and situate and, assess and set out furniture and stuff like that in preparation for the summer rentals.
Excellent.
Any other questions? Jose, do you have a question or you got to go?
No, I just wanted to say thank you.
You are
I
very
appreciate
welcome,
it.
my friend. Very welcome.
All right. Enjoy.
Are there any
And-
other questions that anybody else has? And like I said, I'll figure out how to get this recording and I'll also get that PowerPoint available to you guys and send it to you via email. All right. Well, thank you guys for taking some time tonight to join us. We enjoyed it. This is our first crack at it, but we think it's useful information. And we both as educators felt like, even though everybody here is not an educator, many of you are, we want to be able to give back to educators and teach them what we didn't know and what we know now. So hopefully they can put themselves in a situation that we're in that's better. Because had we not been in this situation, I'd still be working until I'm 65 and she would be too. And when we were done, I'm not sure how we would retire. So this is retirement for us, by the way. This is a part of it. We'll get our little pension, little tiny pension from the state. But then we're going to have the income that we're going to be generating from these two properties. And we already have a plan. There's going to be a third property. I'll give you a quick heads up. This is something I'm going to do. I have a daughter who's 17. We got her on our credit card as an authorized user. And that's done so that we can help develop a credit score for her. When she turns 18, we'll get her a credit card, a small one that she can use so she can start to build a credit score, so she can have a decent 700 to 800 credit score. Then once she's a freshman at URI, she intends to go to URI. That's the plan, if she still wants to do that. When she's a freshman, she'll live on campus. And in the second semester of freshman year, we'll start looking for another house down there. And we'll buy it with her as a primary borrower. And then I will be a non-occupying co-borrower. Okay, and in doing so, we're able to get a primary rate on the house, which is better than an investment rate. And we can also do it with just 5% down. Okay, so some of you who may be in a situation where you're getting kids that might be at the age where they're going to be going to college and you're starting to try and figure that out, and they may be staying around, or even if they're not, maybe they're going to go to a different state, and you think, you know what, after a year, if they live off campus and we get a house and they can live there with a few of their friends, that might be a good option. Because costs to go to school and the cost for room and board are ridiculous. URI right now is great. It's reasonable, right? It's $15,000 for tuition and $15,000 for room and board. Okay, but if we end up doing this, we won't have that extra 15. So my daughter will go to school for 15 a year, or if she can get a whole bunch of scholarships, which is what we always push scholarships. You gotta sign up for the scholarships, right? Go be a phenomenal athlete or study your tail off so that you can get scholarships. Well, thank you all very much. I won't take any more of your time. If anybody needs me, I put my information in there. You can always reach out to me. Many of you already have my information, but if you don't, call me, text me, whatever. But I will follow up with an email to you guys with this PowerPoint, okay?
All right. Thank you both. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Good to see you. Have a good night.